Hey guys, this is Oberstadt, and today I'm going to be kind of talking about, I guess, a sensitive topic, but I'm going to be playing with makeup while I do it. This is something that I have been seeing online discussed in several different ways and forums and excuses and all kinds of other things that are going on in not just the beauty community, but in some of other aspects of YouTube and social media and just certain things that I've seen that I wanted to touch on. So that's what this video is going to be, kind of like a chit-chatty get ready with me. And if you're interested in finding out my opinions on a few things while I play with makeup, then keep watching. I'm going to go ahead and get into the makeup. So for those of you that have watched my channel for a while, you know I don't like labels. I don't like when people put labels on things. I certainly don't like it when people use certain labels as an excuse to tear somebody down or be rude to them, and I don't find that there's really any excuse for such behavior. I have been in some sort of therapy or psychological treatment since I was a child due to some of the things that I went through as a child. I have been diagnosed with all kinds of things. And you go to one doctor and they diagnose you with one thing, and you go to another doctor and they diagnose you with something completely different. And it's like every time I would go to a new psychologist, they would ask me what I had been diagnosed with previously. And I don't know about you, but I kind of find that that's like cheating in a way, because instead of the doctor doing their own evaluation of you and getting to know you and how you think and how you feel about certain things and how you process stuff, they're just going to go on the word of somebody else. And I don't like that. I don't like how doctors I guess you could say bandwagon on certain things. They're like, oh, well, if this doctor diagnosed you with that, then that's what you have. And the stigma that goes behind a lot of mental illness is kind of one of those polarizing things. There are some places that will not hire you if you have been through a psychiatric treatment facility, be it voluntary or not. I actually saw in a job application recently where it said that if you've been in any type of mental institute for medical treatment, be it inpatient, outpatient, voluntary, or not voluntary, they wanted to know why. I don't see how that's any of their business, but I guess if, depending on what kind of job you're doing, they don't want some nut job, working for them. And they don't want somebody that's completely insane working for their company. I understand some of the pros and cons behind it. I don't agree with it. I was diagnosed with depression at age 11. And there is a very good reason for that, because I was abused, and every doctor, psychologist, whatever that they sent me to for treatment to help get over the trauma of my childhood, they all have different techniques and methods that they use, and I can tell you I don't agree with 99% of them. Okay, this is the second time I've used this product lately, and I don't know what it is, but this Maybelline Fit Me is actually making my under eyes and my chin burn. And I didn't have anything besides moisturizer on my chin, so I don't know if this stuff is just not liking my skin or what. That's crazy. It keeps burning. So I find that when you go from one doctor to another, everybody has a different way of doing things, and they have different things that they look for, or they have you take different sets of testing. I know I've had the MMPI done, I've had psychosocial tests done, I've had the psychosexual stuff done, I've had all kinds of different types of psychological testing, over 20 different tests since I was a child on different topics and things like that, because I was abused. And so it seems like one doctor would diagnose me with depression, the other one would diagnose me with anxiety, and none of them ever really got to know why I was stressed out and anxious and depressed and everything else. They just slapped a label on it and said, okay, well, this is what you have. Let's put you on this drug. Well, they started me off on a medication when I was younger. I was probably 12 when they first put me on the first medication. And I can tell you right now that the medication made me absolutely climb the walls. I felt like I was losing my mind. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't tell you my name. I was like hyperactive on this stuff. I kept trying to like peel my skin off. It was bad. So when I see social media people claiming that they're having anxiety or depression or a mental breakdown, it makes me go, really? No, you're not. Until you are to the point where you are like screaming at nothing, yelling at yourself, arguing with yourself, things like that, you are not having a mental breakdown. You are just trying to use some sort of disability in the mental field to claim that you have X, Y, and Z so that people will like coddle you. And from somebody who has been through a battery of psychological testing, as well as been through college and has multiple college degrees, and somebody who during my last like two sets of sessions with my master's degrees, I was like taking 2 and 3 psychology classes at a time. And you know, I think if you can go through a psychology class and not come out, number 1, self-diagnosing yourself, and 2, absolutely insane, you're doing pretty good. I think everybody I was in class with was like, oh, well, I have this and I have this, and well, we just discussed this in class today, and I think I have that. And I think we all did it. And it's kind of like human nature to like look within ourselves to try and like, it makes you feel better if you put a label on it. You know, if you put a label on it, then okay, well, you've got this and you fit into that box. But not everybody fits into that box. And that was one thing I always had a problem with when it came to going to see doctors or whatever. When it comes to mental health, they have like 15-minute appointments, 30-minute appointments, or an hour-long appointment that usually involves like catching up and discussing how your medication is doing, and then putting you on new medication, and then out the door you go. So I never found that I had somebody besides like a psychotherapist or a psychologist or a licensed mental health counselor that was willing to sit down and talk to you to get to know the human that you are and understand like how you think about things. That was one thing I think that kind of irritates me most of all with the health community when it comes to mental health. It's because they don't really take the time to get to know their patients, and then they're just diagnosing X, Y, and Z and putting you on drugs, and that'll solve all your problems. No. I can tell you that I have been diagnosed with multiple personality disorders, and that was just because I was trying to see what the doctors would do. It's fun. I've been diagnosed with depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, ADHD. One doctor diagnosed me with ADD, which last time I checked, those two were kind of like an oxymoron. I have been told that I have stress-related seizures because of my anxiety and my depression. I've been diagnosed with bipolar, and oh Lord, I have a defiance disorder, which basically means that I don't like authority figures, which I don't know many people that do. So I guess it was one of those things that I always wanted to bug the system, and that's like a no-no. So I don't know, it's one of those things that I've always been, well, you have this and you have that and you have the other. But the thing is, you go from one doctor to another and they're like, why did this doctor put you on medication for this? You don't have that. And I'm like, I know, that's why I didn't take the meds. And they're like, once they like really get to know you, they realize that you aren't what they wrote on the paper. They're like, well, how much time did you spend in the office talking to them? I'm like, I think 15 minutes each appointment, and they were always late. So maybe 7 to 15 minutes, depending on how far behind they were. And they're like, that's not a long enough time to diagnose. And then of course they want to know, did they test you for this and that, and what testing did they have you do? And I think the standard in Florida is to give everybody an MMPI, which is like it's like the multiphasic personality, whatever. It's the questionnaire that you get that says, you love your mother. And then like 25 questions later, it says, you dislike your mother. And then 25 questions later, it says, you hate your mother. And then 25 questions after that, it says, you hate the things your mother does. And then 25 questions after that, it says, you like your mother. And then 25 questions later, it says, you only like your mom sometimes. And you're like, well, technically, yes. I hate things that my mom does. I love my mother. She's my biological mother, but she did some shitty things to me as a kid, so I don't appreciate some of the things that she put me through. But it's like all of those questions are applicable, and if you like put yes to all of them, then the test comes out with like all these like red flags and stuff, and it's kind of fun. One of the doctors that I went to, I think I was like 25, I Christmas treed the test. I didn't read a single question. I just filled in bubbles and turned it in. And these are the kinds of tests that usually take like hours to do. Hours. I'm talking, they usually give you 2 hours to start the test, and sometimes, like I think one set of battery of questions, the lady took 7 hours between the personality test that I took, the psychosocial, the psychosexual, the MMPI, and then at the very end of it, after I had been there for multiple hours and hadn't had anything to eat, I was running on like 4 hours of sleep from the night before because I was a college student, I was working full time, and I had a little one at home. And then she was like, well, let's do an intelligence test now. I'm like, dude, I'm like starving. It's 7 o'clock at night. I've been here for hours. My appointment was at noon. I haven't eaten anything. And you want me to take yet another test, a psychological test that ranges like my intelligence? Well, you should do fine on this. You did well on some of the other ones. I'm like, fine. So we went through it, and basically it's putting blocks and orders by picture and spelling things and pronouncing words off of a card, and there was like a bunch of like random questions and things that didn't honestly make sense to me, so I was just kind of pulling answers out of my ass. So it was funny that when we got done with that part of the testing and she sent everything off, and about a few weeks later I got all my results and stuff back. I did an IQ test back in high school before I did my HSCT stuff and my SATs and the ASVAB. I did all of those, and then I did like an IQ test back in high school, so I knew what it was back when I was 16 to 18. But here I am 25. I wanted to see how it had changed, and for those that don't know, an IQ test can cost anywhere between $300 and $1,000 to have one done. They're not cheap. So it's kind of funny how that works. And she was like blown away by my results, and she's like, you do know like the high for an average person is 120 IQ. I'm like, yeah, and an average IQ is 80 to 100, and anything below like 69 is considered retarded or mentally not capable of handling normal conversations and rational thinking and things like that. They say like 69 and below is where you have like mental retardation. So and I'm not saying this to be like rude or anything, I'm just saying that, hello, I had something jump off the counter. It's okay, I have toes. I'm gonna do a trick with my eyes that I saw Raw Beauty Christie do in her latest video, and I don't know how well it's going to pan out, but I figured I would try it. So I've been through a lot of different like tests and stuff. Would you just go away? And I find that with people that do social media, like YouTube and other types of things of this nature, that when the stuff hits the fan, their first instinct is to say, I need a mental break, or I need to take time off from social media or YouTube or life because of X, Y, and Z. Christy, what she did was she followed her lower lash line and then went up from there to get like the perfect wing. So I'm gonna leave that there for right now. I'm gonna do the other side, and then I'm gonna fill in with the other colors. This is a new palette I just got from BoxyCharm. And I can tell you that this brown is like super pigmented. After I took a shower yesterday, I had to wash with oil-based eye makeup remover to get this stuff off. So it's like, hello, I'm saying I like your skin. So from a standpoint of somebody who has not only taken psychology classes, who really enjoyed taking my social sciences classes and things like that, and was really intrigued, now you're actually going to see how crooked my eyes are. I am literally just following the line of the one eye compared to the other. I guess I could zoom you in. Now you can see just how big of a difference there is from one eye to the other. So when I see people claim anxiety or depression or PTSD, it really makes me angry. It really makes me want to walk up to somebody and smack them in the damn head and ask them, WTF. It's like the new craze to make crap up and use it as like a scapegoat for bad behavior. And I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it in the least. I think that when you use mental health as a crutch, then there is a definite problem. And I don't think that it should be done at all. Yes, I know I'm going over that line. It's okay. I can still see it. From somebody who has had mental breakdowns and basically probably should have been hospitalized for it, but wasn't due to some of the things that I've been through. It's just one of those things. And I've always taken offense to when I see somebody say, oh, well, I'm going through a hard time, or I'm going through depression, or I need a break because I just can't handle this right now. Well, you handled it just fine when you started the massive flaming pile, steaming shit that you stepped in and then kicked it around and spread it everywhere. You were perfectly okay doing that. But what you didn't want was the backlash from it. So now all of a sudden that you need to take a mental break because you're in a dark place. Kiss my butt. Like, seriously? No, you're not. You just don't want to, take the heat from the fire that you started. So that always irritates the absolute piss out of me. And then you have everybody that's like, oh, well, don't pick on them because they're having a mental break and they need time off social media to reevaluate their life, and just shoot me. Shoot me. I just can't. So the other thing that really gets me about these influencers, especially the high populated, most loved people, is that when they do something wrong, number one, they point fingers at somebody completely different. It wasn't me. It was because of my depression. It was because of this. It was because of that. Coming from somebody who's had depression for a very long time, who has other health conditions that are fueled by mental health things. When doctors say it's all in your head, it kind of is. And this is coming from somebody who has fibromyalgia, who has lived with fibromyalgia for 2 decades, who gets up every day, and depending on how I feel, it can change my whole mindset. I can get up and say, oh God, my back is killing me, my legs hurt, just stretching makes everything burn, my skin is on fire, I'm hot, my feet are cold, my nose is cold, half of me is so cold that my nose is running, I hurt so bad I just don't want to get up. Or if I wake up in the morning and all of those things are accurate, right? Back is hurting, legs are hurting, skin is on fire, but the first thing that I think when I wake up is, I'm glad I'm awake. I'm gonna kick some butt today. Or I leave my window blinds cracked open so I can see, depending on what time I wake up, I can see sunrise, or the sun peeking through over the house through the bushes in front of my room. I can see the little bit of sun peeking in my room, and I'm like, it's gonna be really hot today, but I bet it's gonna be beautiful. Just changing your mindset from the first option to that option makes my body hurt less. It tells my brain to stop sending those mixed signals and tells the pain receptor something different, so that I don't have all these misfiring neurons going crazy in my body going, okay, well, she stubbed her toe 2 weeks ago. Let's make it hurt now. Really? I'm laying in bed. How in the hell how did I stub my toe? I've been asleep the whole time. What was I, kicking cats while I was sleeping? Trust me, I do that too. But it's no. It's this weird, stupid disease that causes my brain to do stupid, asinine things. So when I say it is just a mindset thing, it kind of is. That's coming from a pessimist. The glass is always half empty. It is it's never You know, I never look at it as like, well, at least I have half a glass. No, I'm missing half the glass. What do you mean? I am the pessimist. I'm not an optimistic person. My mind automatically goes to the negative place when I'm thinking about things. It doesn't automatically switch and think happy, you know, rainbows and sunshine and kittens and unicorns and fairies and Skittles. My brain thinks of other things like too much plastic in the ocean and trees dying around the world because there's not enough oxygen, and they're doing their best to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen, and there's not enough rainfall, or we have things like acid rain and you know, just things like that. That's where my brain goes first. It always looks at the negative part of the situation first before it looks at the positive. And I'm pretty analytical with how I think. I'm very logical and very analytical when I think about things, unless I'm upset. When I'm upset, just throw that all out the window. I won't make sense. I get confused easily when I'm upset. I definitely say things that I shouldn't, but it's not like I don't mean them, because trust me, usually I do. So it's just one of those like situations where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So I don't know. I am tired of seeing these social media people claim mental illness as a crutch, as a fallback mechanism for whatever BS that they got themselves into. I literally just flicked all that, whatever. I'll flick it off with another brush. It's like they're using it as a way of escapism, and they need to stop. They need to stop putting out there that negative energy. Where did my other battery are? They need to stop putting out the negative energy and then letting others feed off of it, because that's when you end up with the mob mentality and then the stupid stan culture BS. I don't agree with it. I don't appreciate it. And I think using mental illness as a crutch, I'm not trying to discount people that do have those things, but when somebody uses it time and time and time and time again, oh, well, I'm having a mental break, or I'm in a dark place. I'm like, bitch, turn a light on. You know? And it just really makes me think that these people have no concept of what they're actually saying. They've never been, or if they have been to a professional, they were coddled, that they didn't, I don't know, they didn't get enough hugs as a child. That's kind of what I think sometimes. Or they were coddled a little too much. I don't know, it all kind of sets me on fire, because it makes me wonder if they were raised a little bit different, that they wouldn't like fall back on some of these things. I don't know, it irritates me. So when I hear a person who is popular on social media say that they need to take a break from social media because they're having a hard time, then that means put your phone down, stop logging into your accounts, put your phone on mute if you have to, if people are insistent on texting you to fill you in on the latest whatever gossip that's going on. If you don't want to be involved in it, and your friends are not respecting you enough to stop with the BS or stop sharing the BS, then your friends are really kind of part of the problem, because if you really do need that time for that mental reparations that you need, then you need new friends. I honestly think that a lot of the stuff that I see go on, especially with YouTubers and social media personalities, they used to seem like crutches over and over and over again. And after a while, their subscribers, their friends, their followers, people that love them are going to just wash their hands of it and be done, because they've had enough. I know there have been times where I have unfollowed people on social media just for the simple fact that they kept saying this, the saying says the same old shit. If you're trying to sell me the same dog and pony act every time something doesn't go right, after the first couple of times it's kind of like shame on me instead of shame on them, because I fell for it and I kept paying attention to what was going on, and I ended up, being part of the problem with the coddling and the hand holding and all of the other things like that. And I don't think that that's okay. So there have been a lot of people that I used to follow on social media that I have since muted because I don't want to see their drama. I don't want to see their hissy fits and their slanderous statements and their racist comments. And if somebody wants to say, well, you bought Jeffree Star's palette and he's a racist, well, you know what? I know what the difference is between a skit and comedy and, you know, entertainment. I know what the difference is for that versus being outright hateful. There are, like my dad and I were talking last night, how many people remember the show Beavis and Butthead? It was one of those shows I was not supposed to watch as a kid, but whenever my brother was watching it, I would like sneak and peek around the corner and watch it with him as well until mom came in and we both get yelled at. Because it was one of those like passe kind of shows. It's one of those, we weren't allowed to watch it, just like The Simpsons. We weren't supposed to watch The Simpsons. Those were like shows that were no-nos in my household. And so getting caught watching one of those shows would 9 times out of 10 end up with me getting my ass beat for not following the rules. Even though my brother did it first, it doesn't matter. I was still a willing participant in said action, and I was usually the one that got my ass beaten, not him. Which isn't fair, but say lovey. Alright, hair, you need to go away. You're driving me nuts. I have a little hair that keeps tickling my forehead. Alright, I'm going back into that first brown shade, and I'm gonna do the weenie thing now. Really? Go away. I am not trying to say anything bad against anybody that has a mental disorder or some sort of condition where they are not mentally stable on their own. My thing is for the people that are misusing the system. They are not taking into consideration other people's feelings. They're not being conscientious of their followers, their friends, their loved ones, their subscribers, especially if they continue to do the same old stuff like day in and day out. Or, you know, if you wait like 6 months, they'll do the same crap again. That's not right. It shouldn't happen, and I know it does. And it's wrong in my opinion. And I don't think it should be done. Let's try to get a point on it. I don't know, hopefully it's helpful for somebody, some of the things that I'm saying, because, you know, like I said, it really is all about mindset. I haven't taken any type of medication for psychological disorders in at least 10 years. Have I had some rough times? I sure have. Have there been times that I've wanted to give up? I sure have. Did I get over them? Yes. How? I worked on it myself. It was all about me looking at me from an outward perspective and not only evaluating the things that I was doing, but talking to myself and figuring out, why was I doing the things that I was doing? Why did I do X, Y, and Z? You know, why was I treating people the way that I was treating them? Was it because that's how they needed to be treated and kind? Or is it because I was being a vindictive, nasty little shit? And depending on how I answered that for myself, depended on how I changed my own actions. I know these are not even. My eyes are not even. I have had a stroke. I am literally following the line from under my eye, just like Christy suggested in her video. Yeah, you can definitely see there's a difference in my eyes, but that's okay. Nobody has two perfect eyes anyways. What do I want to do? Brows, I guess. I don't know. I'm not trying to pass blame on somebody else. I'm not trying to point the finger or anything of that nature. I'm just trying to say that if you do any of these things, maybe reevaluate how you are looking at things in perspective wise. Like if you are a negative Nancy like me, you know, maybe it's not everybody else. Maybe it's not some of the things that you are thinking. Maybe it really does have a lot to do with you and how you are dealing with society and with people. Maybe it is your mindset. Maybe you're looking for the bad in things and you need to change that within yourself. Nobody else is going to be able to change that. No amount of medication or psychotherapy is going to help solve your problems with you. You are the one that needs to sit down and be honest with yourself and tell yourself, number one, you need to be honest and tell yourself what's what. And two, you need to be able to honestly sit down and have a conversation with yourself in a quiet place, like your room. Turn your phone off, turn all social media off, and sit in a room and either, if you're one of the people that has to like write stuff down, then get a notebook and write the stuff down. I don't care if you rip it up later or burn it or trash it or whatever so that nobody else has to find it, but putting your thoughts on a piece of paper will help you visualize things a little bit better. Writing down things that you think, writing down things that you feel will help you process some of the things that you've been through, and it will help you in the long run understand you a lot better. And I have found over the years that simply arguing with yourself about things can be a huge benefit, and I mean a huge benefit, just for the simple fact that you know, you were able to sit down and fight it out within yourself and understand yourself, and you may cry, you may have a fit, you may argue with yourself, you may fight with yourself, hell, you may do quite a bit of things, but at least you're honest with, you know, I love this eyeliner, but it's always like super crumbly, and now it seems like it doesn't want to like twist up. Are you empty? Why can't I get it to go up anymore? So I guess you're going in the trash. I will use a lip liner on my eyeliner. That's fine. I hope that my discussion of this is helpful. I have had people ask me how I have gotten over the trauma of things in my life, and it literally is taking the time to sit down and talk with myself. Take all of the things that I've internalized and break them down one by one and evaluate them. Look at, okay, this happened because I wasn't at fault, because this happened to me because, and think about how things started, what all was going on around you when all of that stuff started. Evaluating everything, breaking it down, understanding it, talking to yourself, talking it through with yourself, and then understanding that it wasn't your fault that those things happened, but you have these experiences now. What are you going to do with them? Are you going to dwell on them after you've already had a conversation with yourself about it and you've understood X, Y, and Z about it? Or are you going to like let it ruin your life? Are you going to move on from these things, or literally are you going to shut down and not move forward at all? Those are the things that I think about. I might as well just use a lip liner on my lips when I am evaluating things from my own past. That's almost a perfect shade match. Hello. That works. But I remember a show when I was a kid. I used to always say knowing is half the battle. But I think knowing yourself is half the battle. Knowing your triggers, knowing what affects you, knowing how you evaluate certain situations, that all has something to do with you. And it really does. It really does boil down to how you look at a situation, how you react to a situation, how you evaluate a situation, and then how you move on from a situation. If you're going to sit and dwell on certain things, then you're your own worst enemy when it comes to that stuff, because you are holding on to the past, you're holding on to the information, the grudges, the feelings, the garbage that goes with bad experiences, and you're not moving on from them. So sitting down and evaluating some of these things can bring you out of a dark place. They can propel you forward and kind of light a fire under you and get you going and make you impassioned to do the things that you loved to do before, just for the simple fact that you let that crap go. Holding on to that stuff isn't hurting them, it's hurting you. And you need to understand that by hurting yourself over and over and over and over again, you're just gonna put that crap on somebody else, and it's not good for anybody, to be honest. It really, really isn't. All right, let me stop this really quick. I've got to blow my nose, and I'm going to record a battle of the mascara thing really quick, and then I'll come back and finish this out. Okay, now that my face is completely done, even with mascara, I know I've been forgetting to put mascara on lately because my lashes, instead of them being like half blonde, they've actually been like all the way dark from root to tip. So I've been forgetting mascara because I have naturally long lashes anyways. But anyways, I hope it gives you guys something to think about with this video, be it changing your mindset on how you view things, or evaluating what you do in your own life and maybe looking at how people react to things in theirs. And everybody's going to react differently. We all react based on our past history and our experience and how we were raised, and there's all kinds of contributing factors to how we're going to react to a situation. But I think people that are on social media, be it Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, influencers, those kinds of things, they need to like take a step back when it comes to putting a label on things. Oh, I'm having a hard time, or I'm having a mental break, or I need to take a mental break, or I'm in a dark place. I really don't buy it. I honestly don't. And if they were having things like that going on, then they need to seek medical attention, be it a psychologist, a psychotherapist, a licensed mental health counselor, maybe a group counseling thing, things like that. I know I used to assist with a codependency group with one of the local mental health facilities here. I have sat in as, just an observer of the group. I've also helped people get over codependencies and things like that. And I've been with people in relationship-wise that are super codependent, and that drives me absolutely insane. So I understand that there are other factors that go into mental illness and some of the things that have gone on in people's lives that can cause them to view things a little bit differently. So I don't know, I guess it's all based on person after person. But if I continually see the same person pull the same crap, use the same line, use the same crutch, I'm going to call them out for it, because I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. I think that using terms that not necessarily equate to what they're going through can cause other people that have those real conditions take a step back and not want to do anything about it, or not seek any help, or not look for professional help, or even reach out to friends, because they're going to be made fun of for it, or they're going to say, oh, well, you're just following so-and-so. You really don't have that wrong with you. Or even your friends and your family, if they look at you and you're like, and they say, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head. And you're like, yeah, you're right. It is all in my head. And this is why. Or, going into things like that. So hopefully this is a little bit helpful for somebody that might be going through some mental health issues, that trying to take a step back, view the outside picture, view all aspects of things, and sit down and have an honest conversation with yourself about what's causing you to be depressed. Why are you in that mindset? What causes you to dwell on certain things that is causing your mental stability to lower and lower and lower, to the point where you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to shower, you don't want to eat, you have no energy, all you want to do is sleep all of the time, which are all symptoms of depression. But they're also symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia and so many other disorders out there that are kind of all like lumped under the same umbrella. And understanding why you are where you are in your mental stability is a starting point, and then branching out from there and viewing the bigger picture might just help you out in the long run. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this kind of like ranty chit chat, get ready with me here. Hopefully you guys have a great day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in another video very soon.